You want to see how I evaluate a laundromat, figure out if I'm going to buy it? And stick around. In this video, I'm going to talk all about how to figure out how much money a laundromat makes and if you should buy one. You hear that? That's the sound of money. You want to know what the sound of money is? That's it. Ching, 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 ching. Ching, 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 ching. Now let's see if this got any money. This is so hard one-handed.
It's got 6 $5 bills in it.
One side's out, the other side's almost out.
Sweet.
Guess we're gonna have to change out a laundromat. I know I haven't done one in a while. It's because I've been busy. If you've been under a rock or in hiding, you haven't heard about the coronavirus. They'd say, what's the coronavirus got to do with the laundromat? Well, as we get closer, and excuse me, I'm looking for my buckets. I misplaced them again. As we get closer to being put in quarantine, as a business owner, one thing you got to kind of prep for is being closed. Maybe being closed for 14 days. I've been making signs to put up on the doors. I've been coming up with a game plan of what I'm going to do because this is uncharted territory. What I'm going to do, and I don't know what other laundromats are going to do or what other businesses are going to do, but if we get quarantined, what they're saying is they're going to give us like 3-4 days and then bang, it's going to be a quarantine. Not a mandatory quarantine, but a quarantine, and a lot of people are going to take it seriously. So I have a feeling there'll be a lot of places closed for 14 days. Kind of like in our area, when we get a bad snowstorm or we get a polar vortex, everything's closed. It could be 3 or 4 days. So we're not as concerned about that part, but my laundromats that are in the not so nice areas, there's a lot of people that are going to freak out, and it could be like Katrina where they just decide, well, I need money, or there's a free TV, or I just don't know. It's the unknown that everybody's scared of right now. So my plan in my laundromat is if we come up on this quarantine and we have to shut down our businesses for a few days, I'm going to change out the laundromat. I'm going to take all the change with me. I'm going to take all the coin boxes out of the machine. I'm going to lay them on top of the machine. I'm going to open the soap machine. I'm going to literally, so when people look in the window, they can see that there's no coin boxes. There's no, the change machine is flashing red. I'm going to put signs on the door. This laundromat is completely empty of money. There's no money in here. There's no soap in here. There's no products of any value in here. And I'm hoping that will deter it. I also have insurance, so if it doesn't deter it, great. But I'm going to do a video. Obviously, if this happens, I'll do a video of me doing it. But basically, I'm going to lay all the coin boxes on top of the machines, and I'm going to, the one laundromat where it has a front load change machine, I'm going to open that door so people can see it's empty. Put a big sign, empty, because we just don't know. I mean, it's kind of a scary thing. We don't know. I'm not worried about myself because I'm pretty well prepared at my house. I've always been prepared for disasters because I live in the country and we have to. We lose power all the time, so we have a generator, a whole house generator. We have a great big LP tank that's full at all times, so I'm not as worried about that kind of stuff, but I am worried about my businesses because they're vulnerable. So if this turns into like a Katrina situation, God help us. I mean, it's as bulletproof as it's going to get, but that's what's been going on. I've been really busy focusing on that, trying to make sure I got all my ducks in a row. So just in case, I know it sounds crazy and you're like, man, now you sound like a nut. It's just a general warning. As we get closer to this breaking out, this will affect people. People are going to get this virus. It's like the flu or pneumonia, whatever. People are going to get it. You're not going to escape it. That's basically what they're telling us at this point, and that's what I figured all along, because things spread globally so fast anymore. You know, you really don't have it. You can't stop things. You just got to be vigilant and try your best to, you know, minimize your impact. So that'll be an interesting video, and I don't know if anybody else with laundromats is thinking the same thing, but maybe I'm nuts. I kind of think outside the box, and I can see this coming, so I've been working on it. I just got to show you this. This is just one day. One day, folks. Look at this. One day. I cleaned this yesterday, and here's today. What? That's a curtain rod. What? People bringing in curtain rods now. Look at this. A box. They even brought a box and put the garbage in it. That's awesome. I'm going to give it to the box folks. That's awesome. Look, they left a bag of laundry. I want to show this. I mean, I've showed you how bad the floor is and everything. Look at this garbage can. At least they got next to it. I mean, look at this. Garbage can. All this stuff. I mean, this is just sad. I know I put that bill validator in that fancy bill breaker, hoping I'd get quarters back. This change machine, even when I completely changed it out for 1 week, I was lucky if I could fill it up to here, okay? I want to show you after this change out from a week. I mean, it's gained. It was where it was at before, and you can look back in the videos, it was down here. I gained that. Now, it could just be a fluke. I mean, it could be people brought quarters back in, but I don't think so. We'll see. We're going to see what happened here. We'll do a couple more weeks and we'll see if it keeps doing this or if this is just an anomaly. So, I got the question a couple times now is, how do you evaluate a laundromat? If I'm going to go buy a laundromat, what do I look for? What do I do to figure out, is this something to buy? And I could sit here and tell you the 12-step program and buy this course and all that other stuff. It's actually super simple. And there's several channels that have talked about this. I mean, I'm not the first one to talk about this, so it's not magic, okay? And the way you evaluate a laundromat, if the owner is not being honest, or if you suspect the owner is fudging his numbers, there's really, in my book, there's two ways to figure this out. There's the water bill and changing it out. Now you say, what do you mean by changing it out? Well, what my dealers always recommended to me is, if I'm going to go buy something, go there when he changes out the laundromat. Go there when the owner changes it out. Go there on off hours and see how many customers it has. Go there on peak times and see how many customers it has. You don't have to be there all day, but go there on a Saturday mid-afternoon. Go there on a Sunday mid-afternoon. Go there on a Monday in the midday, end of the day. I'm going to tell you right now, if you don't do the due diligence when you're buying a cash property or an investment property, you're going to get burned. Because not only is a laundromat an easy thing for people to unload on you, apartment buildings, rental houses, they can make it look like you're making tons of money, and literally you'll get screwed. They can make it look like they're making tons of money, but they're not. With going to that laundromat, there's a second step to that even, and that is talk to the customers. Ask them what they like and don't like. Ask them if they use it all the time. Ask them if when they're there, is it busy? Yes, some of them might not tell you the exact truth, but if you ask enough of them, you can average those answers out and you will have a good idea. Is this a good laundromat? Do people like it? And is it making money? Now, along with that, when I evaluate a laundromat, when I look at it, when I drive by, when I go to it, I look for one on a busy street. I look for one that's really highly visible, and I make sure that that street has a high ADT. Now, ADT stands for average daily traffic in the United States, and they count our roads every year, just like the census. They count them every year because they want to know how much money the government's going to pay the townships, the municipalities, the counties per lane mile based on ADT. If the road isn't getting any traffic, they rate them down. They don't spend money on them as much. There's a lot of different things that factor into that ADT. They check to see where the traffic patterns are heading in a city so they can figure out where to build better roads or build bigger roads, or maybe they need an intersection there, or maybe they need a stoplight now instead of a stop sign. All that's figured in by your ADT. So you can get that for free. That's free information from your city or from your state. And there's even a website somewhere for most states that you can just look online. But that's what I would do. That's one step I would do. Now, that's basically doing the due diligence, the dirty work, whatever. Now, the other thing I mentioned was being there when he changes it out. That's another part of that evaluation. Do I hold a lot of faith in he's telling me the truth? If he's dishonest, what a person's going to do is he's going to stuff the machines. And stuffing the machines is when the owner goes in ahead of you and fills them with quarters. Like, I could do these videos. I could come in here and I could fill all these little machines up with quarters, and you'd be like, Jesus, Keenan's just hammering it. And I always wonder, if people do that. I don't know. And I can make it look like I'm just smoking, making tons of money. So you have to watch that. I mean, if there's some unreal numbers and there's no traffic on that road, something's wrong. Like my laundromat that I'm at right here, number 2, it has a busy road out here. I mean, it's busy already out here. And that road would justify $2,000 to $3,000 a week at this laundromat. You've seen my numbers a little bit, and easily this laundromat can make $2,000 to $3,000 a week, depending how nice I keep it, if I have an attendant, all that other stuff. Not afraid of those numbers. Most people would be, but when you see my change outs, they would walk right along. They would see it too. They would see those numbers, 1,700, 1,800, 2,000. I mean, I'm pulling those numbers in. Not a big deal. So that takes me to the number 2 way I check a laundromat, the water bill. Now, a lot of times laundromat owners will do this when you go to buy a laundromat. They'll say, I don't keep track of anything. I don't have any books. I don't have a profit and loss statement, a P&L they call it, which I really don't believe that either, because if they get loans at a bank, you got to have a P&L statement. If you get loans at a bank on a laundromat, you got to be able to show some income. So they're showing somebody something, whether it's a lie or not. They're doing something with their financials. They just don't want to show you. Now, in my boat, if they don't want to show you the financials, it means it's not making any money. That's the first sign it says to me. Because if you can't show me what it's making, why am I going to pay you X number of dollars for your property? I mean, I wouldn't expect someone to do that to me, so why am I going to be the sucker to do it to somebody else? The problem with laundromats, though, is when people look at laundromats, people look at multifamily. The problem with laundromats and the problem with multifamily, when people are looking at buying it, we're so hungry to get that property, you're so eager, you're so energetic, you kind of put some blinders on and you forget to check things. You forget to slow down and take a step back and think of it rationally. You're so worried that this is all going to walk out the door, that some other buyer is going to come in and buy this place. That's what you're afraid of. It happens all the time to us. It happens to me too. And a lot of times my wife is my yang. You got yin and you got yang. And now my yang literally says, hey, wait, honey, I don't know about this. She pulls me back, okay? That's her job in our relationship, is to say, hey, wait, I love you, honey, but we need to take a second look at this property because something ain't right. And she does it all the time. Sometimes I get frustrated, but it's helped us in the long run. It's a great thing. So when you have a relationship with somebody, or you have a parent or a mentor, sometimes that can help you pull you back from that jumping into something too fast. Going back to evaluating it, so this guy has no profit and loss statement. He has nothing. He can't show you nothing. Ask for the water bill. What the water bill is going to show you is how many gallons a month you're using. Now, how this helps you is, you know your worst machine uses for gallons. Actually, you can look up what all the machines use in a cycle. And it's going to be a rough number. They might use just a little bit more, they might use a little less, depending how many clothes are in there. But it's a number. So by taking how much water your worst machine uses. Now in my laundromats, my worst machine is a top loader. They use 30 gallons of water. So basically if I have a 30,000 gallon water bill every month that's based on, so I got 30,000 gallons of water, that means I get 1,000 turns a month. Now, the way I figure out how much it made is I take the lowest vend price. I don't take the highest, I don't take the average, I always take the lowest. The reason I take the lowest is because if someone's not giving me these numbers already, I know that we're going to be on the low end of the scale. So there's no sense in showing me what it could make because it ain't making it. And so then I take that 1,000 times $2, which is my lowest vend price, or whatever their lowest vend price is. It might be $250, $275, whatever. $2,000 a month. That's what that laundromat would be making. And the first laundromat I bought, I used this system on it. It had a water bill of about 50,000 gallons, 60,000 gallons. That's what it was averaging. Now the owner wouldn't give it to me. They wouldn't even give me the bill. And you're like, well then, how do you do it then? Most of the time when you call the water company, they will tell you how many gallons of water a business uses. It's not proprietary. It's not HIPAA laws. It's not any laws against giving you that information. So they'll tell you an average. And like in the town I was in, they said 50,000 gallons on average. So there were some months, and the lady said, there's some months they do 60, there's some months they do 40. Okay, so 50. 50 was their yearly average. Sweet. Divided by 30, I came up with a number, took it times 2, and I knew how much it was making. And I want to say, give or take those numbers, I want to say I figured that laundromat was making between $200 and $2,500 a month. And I was literally spot on. I mean, it was as close as I could get. It was hilarious. Then what I did is I put new machines in, I got new customers back, I got rid of the attendant they had that was scaring people away. I painted the place, I spruced it up. It was covered up in trees on the outside. I opened it up so people could see it. I painted the building bright yellow and blue. I mean, you can't miss it on a sunny day. It just sticks right out now. And all those things helped it. It went up to $3,500, $4,000 a month easily. Now that's a small laundromat in my area. And the reason that laundromat has a lot less income than the one here I'm at right now is because it's off the main road. It's actually off the main road twice. There's a big road, then there's a secondary road, and I'm on a side street. It hurts it. Someday I would love to move it to the street right next to me or down to the main drag. I would literally double my income. So that's the big thing you want to look for is the main road. If that thing's off on a side street, I don't care what number they give you. Take that water and figure that gallon usage out, and that's going to tell you really what they're making. And you got to evaluate it based on that. I don't care what your dealer or what you think or what anybody tells you it could make. It's not making that. You're buying the building and the machines, or you're just buying the machines. Now, if you're just buying the machines and they're run down and they're old, if you walk into a laundromat and they're not white, they're off-white, those are old machines. They haven't put out bisque machines. They call it bisque as the color. Back in the late 80s, early 90s, bisque was a color people started buying. Why? I have no idea. I think it's hideous. I had some. Everybody's had some if you had a laundromat because people didn't change them out because they couldn't afford to. Bisque machines are old. So you're buying old equipment. And in that sense, you want to ask your dealer, hey, what's the trade-in value on this? And if they tell you nothing, guess what? That laundromat ain't worth a whole lot. And the reason is because even if you buy it, or the dealer isn't going to buy it, they're not going to buy it for the equipment, they're not going to buy it and flip it. Some dealers do that. They flip laundromats. They'll buy rundown laundromats and clean them up. But they're not stupid. They're not going to pay $100-some thousand for a package of equipment that's not worth anything. And so you need to understand that. Like laundromat number 3, and I'll show up, laundromat number 3, brand new, that equipment would be $150,000. And that's with one 80-pounder, that's with 4 50-pounders, that's with 5 30-pounders, and that's with 7 20-pound washers. And then I have the 13 stacked dryers. Brand new, out the door, all that equipment, plus the change machine, plus the soap machine, is $157,000. The reason I know that, when I built that it's been 3 years ago, 2-3 years ago, I got a price for brand new equipment. Because I wanted to know, because I put used equipment in there. Now you say, well, Jesus, you just told us used equipment ain't worth anything. No, not really. But used washers in good shape, they do have some value. Washers do, dryers don't. Dryers never had any used value. So if you get washers like in that laundromat on number 3, those are used machines. I paid a lot less. I paid 1/3 of the price I would have for a new one. So if you're buying a laundromat, it's got fairly decent machines, fairly decent equipment, like the washers, then it has a little bit of value. But we're only talking $800, $1,000 a machine. We're not talking like a 60-pounder can be $4,000 or $5,000, you know, brand new. An 80-pounder can be $7,000, $8,000 brand new. If you got used ones that are 10 years old, 11 years old, whatever the year it is on it, you know, they're only going to be worth $1,000. Maybe an 80-pounder will be worth $2,000. Because you can go on eBay right now and buy refurbished ones out of California, out of New York, and you're looking at $3-4 grand shipped to you. So you gotta really compare those numbers. So I know it's hard because you're so anxious to get a business, but you got to be careful of that too. Big lesson. Be careful of being too over anxious because there's other property going to come up. Every time I bought a property and thought, man, I better grab this quick or I'm going to lose it, something else pops up. Now laundromats are more of a niche. So there's not so many laundromats, but honestly, you need to be cautious because what you'll do is you'll get yourself in over your head and you're not going to make any money, you're going to lose money, and you're not going to be happy with that investment. I would go talk to the customers. If you're afraid or nervous to go into a laundromat that you don't own yet and talk to the customers and see what they don't like about the place, then you have no business owning a laundromat. Some people have said, hey, it seems like you're a natural speaker. It seems like you're able to talk about these things and you present things well. You're going to own a business. You got to be able to talk to people well. You can't be nervous, can't be scared, can't be upset. Don't let things bother you. You got to have thick skin. These are all characteristics you got to have as a business owner of any business, restaurants, car washes, apartment buildings. It's something you'll get. It's something that you can get as you own a property, but you need to understand that's going to be a big hurdle for you to overcome. A lot of people, if they can't get out of that shyness, you're in trouble because people are going to look to you. You know, you're the owner. You should know what you're doing. You need to show some confidence, and you need to show that you care and all these other things, you know, that they're looking for in an owner or a person that runs a laundromat. So if you're buying the building, that's going to help because then you have value there. Can you rent out part of the building? Can you rent out part of the parking lot? Can you put an ATM in the parking lot? Can you put, in my area, I've got a couple laundromats. I can put mini storages in them. I can put apartments in them, like you saw that garage that I have. I mean, that's value add. I'm going to make more money in this property by adding that, by fixing that up. So those are huge pluses because if your payment's this and you already have this income coming in before the laundromat's even turning, before a machine's even turning, well, part of your payment's paid off. So you also don't have that scare factor. Like, you know, even if your machines don't run, you're only out $500 a month or $600 a month. Or like the case of my first laundromat, I was only out $200 a month if that laundromat was not going to run because I had those units next door rented. So I was only out $200. I was willing to take the $200 risk a month. And then my thought was, is the main area of my laundromat, let's say the laundromat failed. Let's say, like I said in there, me and my wife were scared. Say it failed, we were going to ship the equipment out, we're going to get rid of it, we're going to rent that out. I easily could have rented that out for $500 a month. Now, yeah, that property would only made me about $300, $400 a month profit, which isn't a lot, but it's better than costing me $1,000 a month, and I can't get rid of it. So that was a beautiful property because even though I was scared at the time, my wife was scared, there was nothing to be scared about, was the kind of the funny thing, because it just had potential all the way, it just had tons of potential for it. If you can find those kind of properties, that's what you need to look for. And I hope that helped. I hope I answered a few questions. I get that question a lot. How do you evaluate a laundromat? If you like the video, comment, rate, and subscribe. And don't forget to hit that like button. It helps a lot for a little guy like me. It just makes it all worth the while. Thank you.